Chapter 2 is one of my favorite chapters of any textbook. I really enjoy speaking of the brain and neuroscience. This book does a good job at striking a good balance, not too much detail. I appreciate that it didn't go into the neuron too much and applied neuroscience to cognitive issues, and I think she did a good job of that. I really like this Galati text. It's about 6 years old, and I think Galati was near retirement age when she wrote it, so we may not get a 7th edition, but she's done a good job. But if you'll indulge, just a couple paragraphs from this chapter. When the field of cognitive psychology began in the 50s and 60s with that revolution that we spoke of, cognitive psychologists found the workings of the brain to be interesting, but not relevant to their understanding of how cognitive processes worked. The idea was the description of cognitive processes and structures was best done at a level of abstraction above a neural level, which was thought to be just too complicated. We didn't need to reconcile everything with a brain process. And here's another interesting assertion. Many feared that a description, I missed that sentence, I'm sorry, that would just be too convoluted to be useful is the bottom line. However, increasing numbers of cognitive psychologists have become interested in the functioning of the brain as an underpinning for cognitive activity, of course, because we can observe it now. Especially with fMRI, we can see things in action. Although the question of which level provides the most useful explanation remains, many cognitive psychologists feel that they cannot investigate cognition without some working knowledge of how the brain develops and functions. And it's one of my favorite subjects. Where we'll spend most of our time talking is about the most important parts of the forebrain and the cerebral cortex, specifically the frontal lobe. And I've actually got a video set aside for you. It's about 10 or 12 minutes that pertains to the frontal lobe and its unique place in our humanity. You might remember I mentioned in the previous chapter that our brains were structured differently 10,000 years ago, according to the theory of evolution, maybe 12,000. In that, it was the case that sensing organs were more important as they would be for a wild animal, like a hawk or a dog's smelling sense. And over the eons, those were downplayed in favor of our wit and our intelligence as we started to live in groups and become agrarian and needed to plan better. So we became less animalistic and more planning in nature, and are also able to show better restraint, and that's one of the things that redeems that frontal lobe.